Here on the Peripatia podcast, we talk about life's turning points, the plot twists that change everything. If you're in one of those moments now, questioning your habits, your happiness, or your relationship with alcohol, check out Ditch the Drink. It's life coaching with a sober, curious twist because we're all recovering from something, whether that's grief, burnout, people-pleasing, perfectionism, you name it. Start your next chapter with a free guide and masterclass at ditchthedrink.com. Your turning point could start today. This episode is brought to you by Kajabi, the all-in-one platform that helps creators like you turn your knowledge into income. Whether you're a coach, course creator, or content pro, Kajabi gives you everything you need to build, market, and sell your offers all in one place. No duct taping together websites, email systems, landing pages, or payment processors. Kajabi handles it all, so you can focus on what you do best, teaching, creating, and connecting. I use Kajabi myself, and I can tell you it's a game changer. You can launch a digital product, build a membership, or host an entire online course without needing to be a tech genius. Want to give it a try? Head to my link for a free 30-day trial and see how simple building your dreams can be. Kajabi, where creators become entrepreneurs.
Hey, babe, and welcome to the Peripatia podcast, a talk show for women. This is the place to talk about how we're ditching our bad habits, long-held patterns, and limiting beliefs. The time is now to stop outsourcing and start insourcing our happiness and bliss. Am I right? I'm Heather Lowe, your empowering life coach, ready to guide you on this incredible journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and freedom. If you're feeling stuck in the cycle and wondering what life could look like if you liberated yourself, well, I've got something just for you. I created a free guide to help you take those first empowering steps towards a healthier and more fulfilling life, the one that you desire. This guide is packed with practical tools, mindset shifts, journal prompts that dig deep, and real-life insights to support you in making changes that truly stick. So if you're ready to explore what's possible, head over to ditchthedrink.com and grab your free guide today. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. And if you want a group of babes to journey with, I've got you there too. We're staying connected through the Ditch the Drink Insider app with private forums, weekly group calls, masterclasses, live workshops, book clubs, in real life events, and more. And the best part is you can join for free with a 7-day trial. I'd love to continue the conversation on the inside. Now, let's dive into today's episode and get inspired to create the life you deserve, like so many other babes are doing right now. Here we go.
Popular girl around when it comes to wellness. But it was so cool because we also had this connection where we had worked at the same place way back when, and we knew some of the same people. So the world is very small. And since then, we've stayed connected and, of course, stayed connected on LinkedIn. And you have become a published author since our time at that conference with a book called Brain On, which is about mental fitness. And I want to know all about this. So first of all, a warm welcome. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. Can you start with maybe sharing a little bit about your background and then what mental fitness means to you?
Yes. Well, first of all, this is just awesome to be with you, Heather. I'm a big fan, and I am so glad that we did get that connection way back when and have stayed connected ever since. You're doing amazing work in the world as well. So yeah, huge fan. In terms of my background, as you alluded to, I am all about well-being in the workplace, but I didn't start that way. I was an accountant by education in my first early career.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I know. And there was a brilliant HR person named Nima, and she just saw in me what I didn't and put me into this cost accounting consulting role where I performed for 5 years, like a budget and accounting analysis for the fun departments like the helicopter that used to fly checks back and forth from O'Hare to the bank. And I found that I just loved consulting and once we got bought out from my accounting days, I became an HR consultant and have been there ever since. So 30 years, don't tell anybody. But in my time, I've been able to finally document. There's 3 things I'm just passionate about. My strengths evolve around creativity, innovation, and inspiration. And I love the ability to work with HR and organizations to help employees like live their best day.
Mhm.
And that has always been my foundation. At the same time, I've struggled with mental health and stress management and anxiety and you name it, both mental health and mental well-being. And I've just honed in on that practice for those 30 years too, through meditation, mindfulness, breathing exercises, walk, like everything. And
Mhm.
I finally decided I need to bring this to the world of work
Mhm.
specifically, right? And put it into context because really, when we think about work, it's our brain being on for 480 minutes and we really need to strengthen it. So mental fitness is my jam. That's my best form of exercise that I love to talk about all day long. So thank you again for having me.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So yeah, HR was our connector, but it's so interesting because we came at it in basically opposite ways because I was a social work major and I was doing
Mm.
social work. And then I decided I wanted to, one, I didn't want to write policy, but 2, I wanted to help people that were sort of seeking support, which is the same as coaching, right? Versus somebody who was like mandatory or I wasn't invited, but was there anyways. And so that's what took me from social work to HR. And it's so interesting that you went from accounting, cost accounting to HR, sort of like we were just talking about our daughters off at college, like opposite starts for us
Yeah.
to land in the same place with human resources. But it's all of those things and it's everything. And I think the reason why we are connected even more than that is because of the mental health and mental wellness and a desire to talk about that in the workplace. And for me, obviously specific to addiction and recovery, I don't think you can have a conversation about mental health without adding that in. At times, that's kind of a taboo topic and companies are afraid of it, I think, to approach it. So I think having a light on mental health and mental fitness is a perfect avenue into that. Is mental fitness different than mental health? What is your definition of that?
Yeah, I love that. And I hope that next time we talk, the word taboo doesn't come up in this discussion, mental health or mental well-being. I think the work you are doing, like you said, and advocating and speaking out based on just examples and human experience and what I'm doing, what I've learned is it resonates and people like me, like you start to talk and the word gets out there. So
Yeah.
one of the things in the starting places to your point is I feel my job is to help employers note the difference between mental health and mental well-being. And that's strictly because of how they purchase solutions to help their employees. It's not all encompassing and you have to have a strategy for both. So I always say mental health is around clinical care, access to that care, affordability to that high quality care in a clinical setting where you have a diagnosis or you need that extra support due to a life event, whatever it is,
Right.
that is a trained professional that can help you. Like that's part one. And then my story is that is not enough. And you need the conjunction and
Right.
mental well-being, which I define as non-clinical because I'm not and it's just the ability to be self-aware about how you are feeling, what your storyline, your thinking, your thoughts are, and ensuring that you strengthen those in a positive way so that you can become resilient. You can have a growth mindset. It's all of those soft skills that will allow us to lead our lives in a healthier way on a daily basis at work.
Yeah, it does everything when a leader like you talks about this. Even uses those words. It does take away the stigma and the tabooness of it to just have a leader like you say, let's talk about it. And I have my own experience, right, with mental health and mental well-being. And I say mental health is health. It's directly connected to physical health in every which way too. And you know that versus stress, burnout, all these things that exacerbate any kind of physical symptoms. Your mental health is your health. And we all have mental well-being, and it changes over time due to circumstance and situation and behaviors and habits and patterns and all those things. So it's for everyone. Mental health and mental fitness is for everyone. So I'm glad you're shining a light on that. In the workplace, have you run up against resistance in the workplace to talking about these types of topics?
So I wouldn't say resistance. It's a lack of awareness, knowing the difference that when I put in a mental health solution at work as an employer or as a leader, I'm talking about mental health. It's this, like, I have 3 sessions. I go to my EAP. It's for crisis. I think we're still at the early stages of understanding. It's a little bit of stigma reduction. I don't know if stigma, I think it's more just commonality and experience. So what I say is, before COVID, this would not even be a topic I could discuss. I wanted to, mental health and mental well-being. Nobody would listen. But everyone around the world experienced a mental health crisis in some sort of way and could at least adjust. So that clinical conversation, I think, has moved slowly forward. But the ability to understand that that's not enough, and a 1-hour lunch and learn on stress management, which we've been talking about for years, like stress, is definitely not enough. And the solutions are very premature at this point. So I think it's not resistance, but it's just a new lane that needs to be forged and doubled down on once we get mental health access to all with high quality and cost, affordability.
Yeah, that makes sense. I always say that is the silver lining of COVID is that it escalated the need for people to get help. And so people were getting help and reaching out, and that became an urgent priority, which it maybe wasn't before. Now it is, and it's opened the conversation. There's a lot of tragedy that happened with COVID as well. But if there's a silver lining, it's that we are talking about it. We can't ignore it anymore. It definitely came to the forefront. So for companies and and organizations, as well as families and individuals. So how long has this book been on your mind?
So that's a great question. I think if I look back, the number one question employers would always ask me over these 30 years is, why are my employees so stressed out? What do I do about it? And then the word burnout came. And now, based on our environment, it's like everybody's going through something. We said that very loosely, but everybody's going through something that's pretty significant now. Like, these are just crazy times. So I think my book came out right at the right moment. I would say I doubled down right around COVID because I was writing all about handling daily stress. I knew you couldn't just go to therapy and get this fixed. Like, we all had to figure things out.
Not a one and done. Not that one to learn in three AAP therapy sessions. That's what I did for my alcohol problem, and it unfortunately didn't cure it immediately either.
I mean, I'm like, okay, I'm writing about listening to music and walking out in nature, and I'm like, this is mental fitness. This is something new. So it wasn't in my mind until COVID, and then 2 years birthing the book. It came out in 23. So but looking back, it's the number one question I've always gotten. And I think my life experience led me to that, along with my work experience.
So that's interesting. Also, I think we became aware. I'm so grateful that I ditched drink before COVID, because I can't imagine what that would have looked like. But people didn't have the right coping skills in place pre-COVID, and that became pretty evident. Tell us about your life experience, what you're willing to share about some of the inspiration from your own life and your own personal lessons that led to writing a book like this for employers.
Yeah, I think you have such an interesting podcast take on things in those pivotal moments. And looking back, mine revolved around my brain health and mental well-being. I was a very anxious kid growing up, and I talk a little bit about that. And to the point where I hated school performances and choir, like school performance, like just put me over the edge. And one of my drama teachers in 5th grade taught me how to do mental, mindful relaxation where you tense up and relax. So I started doing that, and I noticed just from that mental fitness exercise of body relaxation, I could sleep better. I could get through my spelling bee a little better. You would see me up there practicing. But I'm like, okay, one and done, that whatever. And then in college and my first year of marriage, I started to get really anxious, and I had a panic attack on vacation, and I didn't know what it was. I thought I was having a heart attack, like many explain. And so that led me to see several doctors. I'm thinking I'm dying here. And it turned out from a neurologist like, Deb, you just have panic anxiety. He's like, it's probably your first year in the workforce. And it was. So like, he's like, we don't know how much stress we hold. And you just happen to be wound up really, tight. So it was a very trying part and time in my life trying to learn like how stress can really manifest that way and create those physiological symptoms. But that was a turning point for me. My therapist actually recommended this great mindfulness center down the street, which I've been on the board of, for 20 years. And so every situation like that, where I learned a mental fitness training that really changed my life in so many positive ways, became kind of my mantra and my anthem and what I would seek out. And so it's a subspecialty of mine, is just understanding the brain, but I stand on the shoulders of so many clinicians and academies that I just can't get enough. So what I'm really good at is putting together scalable models. And as a futurist in my Gallup strengths, I can also distill things in a way that are what I call the Cliff Notes Queen version. And so that's what I did with this book, is I took my experiences every time I learned a new mental fitness skill, put it all together and applied it to work. Because I think, I've been working 30 years and I notice the stress level every day. And now I can really hone in on it. And I watch people go through the workday completely unaware of how stressed they are and what that's doing to their health. So I think it all led up to that point. And the work I do is putting that into a book based on my life experiences with it.
Yeah, there's more than one way to do things. So that's just beautiful that you found another way. It's interesting that you were anxious even as a child. You felt that anxiety, and especially for performance. I wonder if that was like fear, perfectionism, like achievement. I'm saying that because I'm projecting, because that's what it is for me. Like, people pleasing, perfectionism, achievement, be the best. I have to, good enough, like perform,
Yeah.
And in my life, my story is too, that sometimes performing, doing a good job for the outside world was more important than what was even happening in my inside world, right? And that kind of had to shift in my healing journey. The other thing I've heard with you is this panic attack and a meeting with the doctor and a neurologist is like, this is how you are. Maybe you're the kind of person who's wound kind of tight. And I would say I'm the kind of person who's also wound tight. I say that. And I also say sometimes I'm always revving. Right?
Yeah.
My natural state of being is sort of like go all the freaking time.
Yeah.
So accepting that, letting myself be that, not trying to change that, like that I am who I am. This is how I am. Here's how I can manage myself. Here's some tools for how to manage that. I don't have to change who I am or deny who I am or have shame about who I am. I can just have compassionate acceptance of this is the kind of person I am. And there's a lot of really wonderful things to those qualities too, right? We all have a dark and a light and a pro and a con for each kind of trait that we might have, and that you found there's different ways to do things. So it sounds like pretty early, like first on the job, you're already so stressed out. You very quickly addressed it. I mean, the panic attack forced you to address it, right? Whatever you were ignoring really came to the surface, and you went back to even some of those childhood tools of tensing and relaxing, right? Different kind of different techniques to calm yourself.
Yeah, I will say when I wrote my book, because I had this collaborative writer, writing is not my thing. My thoughts were my thing. And I had like a PowerPoint, and I could have stopped with like one chapter, which is just self-awareness is the key to your point.
Mm.
Like that's all we need to practice. I practiced it for 2 years just recently. I feel like the book has even helped me grown because early back to your point, when I had those panic attacks, it was rare after that I would get that shaking sensation, but I would still be at a low level stress. So I really did. It took me years and years and years to practice and learn and ultimately become self-aware
Yeah.
how I'm wired, which is what you alluded to. I think
Yeah.
everyone starts with what you just said and is aware and accepting and know when you tilt, to the extreme or not. That self-awareness is a practice and the biggest mental fitness exercise we can do every day for our health.
Yeah. I love it. Step one, I say the
Step
same
one.
thing. And my coach, pay attention. Step
Yeah.
one, pay attention.
Yeah.
We do a lot to ignore, right? Ignore what's happening, covering it
Yeah.
up, denying it, distracting ourselves. For me, that was alcohol, but it could be basically anything. It could be
Yeah.
busyness. It could be scrolling. It could be, shopping. Now I found a lot of other ways to not pay
Right.
attention, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, step one, pay attention to what's happening inside of you, like at the
Yes.
storm building inside and what your symptoms are and what's happening. Pay attention to that. I love that. Tell us more. Where do we go from there once we recognize, okay, there's things happening?
Yeah, I mean that's the title of my book. So brain on is when you are conscious. You're actually aware and you're not just running through and just, and being subconscious and distracting. So step one is always asking, am I brain on or brain off? And brain off is like when you snap at someone or you say like you're in fear mode, right? Or you're fight, flight, or fear. So you're angry, you're scared, or you disassociate, like I'm out. So if you just practice brain on or brain off for a full day, every day while at work, you will be amazed. For example, like we might say, I don't know if you've said this, but I'm like, oh, I can't even read this email right now. Well, that's brain off. I can't. But
Right.
then what we do is we move through that being brain off and we just keep going and going until we're burned out, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes, exactly. That is
right.
exactly.
We just don't
Yeah.
listen we're telling
Right.
ourselves we're brain off all day long. Like,
Right. Or we maybe even respond to that email that we
right,
couldn't even read with a very emotional response,
right,
not in the thinking part of our brain. We're
right,
the F you for hope this email finds you, screw off. You know
right.
what I mean? Right.
That's so true.
Just a
So
reaction.
right. I say we are brain off most of the days. So what's next is just saying, "Oh, I'm brain off," and then doing a mental fitness exercise that brings us brain on, conscious again. And so when you think of conscious, you're like, "Oh, I'm going to look out the window and consciously look at what I'm seeing." Oh, I'm not just going to look out the window and still think, right? That
Right.
brings your brain back on. I see green leaves right now. It looks like the wind's blowing. I'm thinking, I'm active. Now I can respond from a better place, my best self place to that email. Oh, wait, I can't believe this. I got a ding while I'm doing this other email, right? Or somebody's knocking on my office door. Well, I just went brain off. Our default is to go brain off. We're looking for threats. We're scanning all day long. So knowing that, oh, I should just pause or maybe take a deep breath. Or if I'm speaking too fast and I feel like I'm distracted, maybe I stand up. Like you're just trying to interrupt and consciously think about something to become brain on, which is when you're in your thinking brain, your best self brain.
Coming back online. Yeah, not the robot response, not the just moving through the motions, not the emotional response or reaction, like deciding how you want to react. And that is meditation. You
Yeah.
mentioned meditation as a huge tool for you, staying in the present. And so often we're not in the present. And especially with our stressful work environments, we're two steps ahead or we're still mad about yesterday, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
we're not really in this moment with this person most of the time, like you said. So becoming more aware, focusing on looking out the window, taking a breath, what's happening outside, feet on the ground, getting into the present moment is one huge tool to bring your brain back online.
Yes.
And it's a natural pull to be offline. Is that
Yes.
sort of protection for us?
Yeah.
Perhaps old
Yes.
news, cavemen, like
Exactly.
yeah, and I know I'm highly critical. I have a loud inner critic because I'm the scanning the room for what's wrong all the time. The dishes aren't
That's
done. That
normal
blanket
though.
needs to be fluffed. Whatever. So who
Yeah.
left their shoes there?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So one that is so normal. And that was really why I wrote the book. Is somebody said that to me once, like, it's normal for our brains to be off. We are on
Mhm.
default mode, negative bias, looking for the next thing that's going to kill us. But our
Right.
brain doesn't know that dirty laundry is not going to kill us. We have modern
Right.
dinosaurs and saber-toothed tigers running around and hyper alert that everything, our brains are on fire all day long. So again, having compassion for that, that's how we are wired. And then knowing that we have to build our strength up by creating these new neural pathways over and over, like refiring, retraining, rewiring, gave me
Mhm.
hope. I'm like, wait, I don't have to be like this. And
Mhm.
so it's just a daily commitment to be gentle with myself. Like
Mhm.
yesterday, even I found the lettuce in my chip cabinet because I wasn't paying attention when I was making my lunch, and I used a chip clip to roll the
Yeah.
lettuce bag down. And so I associated the chip clip with the chip cabinet instead of
Yeah.
the refrigerator because I wasn't paying attention. So when I opened it up, I'm like, oh my, and that's normal. Fight. Oh my God, how could I be so dumb? But then I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's how I'm wired.
Yeah. So many brain off examples. I'm thinking of when I get in the car and I
Yeah.
turn right and then I turn right again. And then I ask myself where I'm going. I'm
Right.
going the wrong direction because I'm just doing
Right.
whatever I normally do. My normal route is I'm trying to go to the gym, even though I'm supposed to be going to the grocery store. The body
Right.
wants what it wants, like,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, this is all about building strength. Like our attention span right now is measured at like 8 seconds, according to some of the studies. 8 seconds, and then we're on to something else because we're always looking for. It's just, oh, if I can focus for 9 seconds every day, right? 10
Mhm.
seconds. Like we have to
Mhm.
rewire our patterns because otherwise it's just going to get worse and worse based on the speed of everything happening right now.
Yeah, and I can't help but think in today's world how we're writing an email as our emails are dinging, as our Slack is coming in and our Teams is coming on, and we're already late for this, and somebody's at our door, and our
Yeah.
messages on our phone are growing. And then, not to mention social media and the amount of information that's coming in at us constantly. Help with that. Like, how do we pay attention for 10 seconds at a time? What do you recommend for folks in the workplace? Because this is like so much for a brain to categorize and file when things are
Right.
coming in so fast, right?
Right. So there's a couple things in the book. I call this whole concept being a corporate athlete
Mm,
because if you think about it, our work is no longer physical. We don't have to exercise and lift weights to lift pounds of bags in the factory or heavy machinery. We use our brain to create work. So we have to have it in tip top shape. And so in order to do that, we need to realize every day is going to be an obstacle course for our brain to go through. And we need to realize a couple things. One is the obstacle course is actually in front of us by the use of our calendars. If we look at our calendar,
mm.
that tells us how much our brain is
That's
going
the
to need.
map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we're already brain off all the time, how are we going to get brain on in between those meetings when there's no white space? So as a corporate athlete, they train based on the course. So we know what our course is. We know those things that are definitely going to trigger our brain off. So I recommend flagging in your calendar that day, those meetings or that person that turns your brain off right away because you're not going to be your best self. So as a
Mhm.
corporate athlete, you're preparing for your obstacle course and you're changing it. So every day I'm like, there's too much back to back. I need to reschedule a meeting and put in our active recovery, like a half an hour lunch, a half an hour walk. So change your course, change your day, change your life. And then realizing that the workplace is our gym for our mental health and mental
Mhm.
fitness, knowing that what we call the mind platter by Dr. Siegel, there's like 10 things you can do, which I've mentioned in the moment to bring your brain back online. One is look at nature. One might be listen to music. So what I recommend everyone do is have a 1, a 5, and a 10-minute break list, active recovery break. So your brain doesn't have to think about what to do when you have a minute free. Because if you have a minute free right now without something written out to do, you're going to scroll. That's not active recovery. You're going to pick up your phone when you're bored.
That's more brain dead.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have a 1, 5, 10-minute list I go to depending on how much time I have. I suggest everybody write that out. And then just to start with, just 3 times a day, asking yourself, oh, am I brain on right now or am I brain off? Like right now I'm brain on because I'm very engaged in listening to the question. But if afterwards, right, I have a 11:30 or 12:30 when this ends, I might go right into that next meeting and not give myself a break. And then I'm not showing up as my best self. So 3 times a day, I ask, am I brain on or am I brain off? And you're going to be brain off, but you have to ask yourself to get conscious again, just to think
Yeah,
of
it just brings you awareness. Asking the question brings
Yes.
awareness, puts you back on line. It's like the meditation where you're going to have thoughts. It's not that to be a perfect meditator, you're not going to have any thoughts. Of course, you're going to have
Right.
thoughts. It's just how quickly you can let them go and bring yourself back, right? And same with
Exactly.
brain on, brain off. How quickly you can recognize you're off and come back on, because of course you're going to be off, right?
Exactly. That's
I love that.
1,000%. Yes, you've nailed it. So yeah, you start your day knowing your obstacle course. You kind of move things when you can. You know when you're brain off or brain on, and then you ask yourself during the day when we're not paying attention and we're just in brain off mode to bring yourself back. And then at the end of the day, you wrap up by some form of gratitude. No matter how bad your day was, gratitude's a superpower for bringing you back online, because your fear brain and your thinking brain can't be on at the same time. So if you're still angry from work, you're not going to greet your spouse, your kids happily because you're still in fear brain or your brain off.
You guys, I'm so excited. My favorite makeup brand asked me to be an ambassador for them. Jones Road Beauty. You guys, if you feel like a clown in makeup, like I do, this is the makeup for you. It feels so moisturizing and hydrating that when I went to the store, they actually told me I was using so much. I want to take a bath in this, okay? Jones Road Beauty is the clean, high-performance makeup line from Bobbi Brown, made to enhance your natural beauty, not hide it. From Miracle Balm to their viral foundation, every product is multi-purpose and effortless. It takes me about 5 minutes in the morning, and I feel good all day. And right now, if you use my link, when you spend $85, you're going to get a free mascara. Head to the link below. Start fresh, feel good, glow differently. Thanks, Jones Road Beauty. You know I love magazines. From my vision board to my junk journaling, getting that glossy happy mail in the mailbox makes me so happy, you guys. What happens after the moment? That changes everything. The grief, the healing, the reinvention. After magazine is where those next chapters unfold. It delivers soulful essays, powerful interviews, and vibrant visuals that explore life after the transformational moments and after alcohol. And now, we've introduced an Ask a Coach column with real questions and grounding guidance from an expert coach, me, Heather Lowe of Ditch the Drink, because sometimes the best next step is simply knowing what to ask. For honest answers, thoughtful advice, and a path forward, explore After at aftermagazine.com with my link below. Subscribe for digitalies to get the stunning quarterly print issue, because life doesn't end with the turning point. It evolves, and After helps you live what comes next.
So gratitude immediately hijacks it, and you can't be thinking some positive thought and still be angry one brain at a time. You've just engaged your thinking brain by saying, oh, I had such a great interview and time with my friend Heather. That immediately takes you out of your fear brain mode. So gratitude is your super hack.
So interesting. One brain at a time. Tell us more about that. You can't be feeling fear or anger at the same time.
At the same time, you're so happy.
Oh, yeah.
Now you can go back and forth really, really fast. And sometimes we do, even on vacation, right? I'm having a great time and then I stub my toe. Ouch, I'm in fear brain. Now that next thing, if somebody asks me something, I'm going to, even though, but then I'm going to pause and I'm like, oh, look at that beautiful thing. I've never seen it. But back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
all the time. And if we're always on fear brain, you can't be your best self. You have to switch to brain on. You have to switch to your thinking.
I love that. So the calendar is huge. And, one thing I do with my clients is calendaring. Often that is, we need help with organization, and we expect ourselves to be in two places at once. A lot, a lot. That overwhelm is just heart pounding fear. I hate that feeling, right? Where I'm supposed to be picking up the kids and on this work call.
Yes.
I couldn't be in two places at once, but we sort of expect ourselves to be sometimes.
Right.
And my one-on-one calls are 50 minutes and not an hour, because there's a little buffer if things run late. And also, let me run to the bathroom, fill my water, take a breath, and I'll have some intention in coming into the next call, right?
Yes.
Like, kind of shake off the last call and that person, and send them on their way, and then clean the slate for the next call. I think it's so important. But on a corporate job, it's often meeting after meeting after meeting, and there's not even time to go to the bathroom, right?
Well, I mean, just to your credit, almost everybody, not a lot of people know to take that 10 minutes, that 5 minutes. Not a lot of people realize they're taking their last meeting participants and issues and bringing it into the next meeting.
Right.
So really, I mean, your clients are very lucky that you know that and you focus on that. And so it's in our workday. Personal becomes our work becomes our personal. So it's just, am I brain on or am I brain off at this moment, knowing that we're probably brain off before we answer a question from somebody dear to us or a client. Like, it just takes practice, because our brain is not wired like that right now. We've trained it to be on hyper alert.
Yeah. And part of the training is scheduling that white space. I love that.
It's a habit.
Like schedule it in, like block it off, right? Or you need a half an hour between this big meeting and this presentation, because you need to prepare yourself, right?
For sure. And what I tell some of my clients is just put a meeting in with Deb. And so if you need to have a full calendar, put in a meeting with Deb, and that's your brain on break. Like, I don't care what you do.
Perfect.
Block some time for yourself. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. So burnout can sneak up on us. Based on your research, what are some of the early warning signs that people should pay attention to?
Well, I think just in general, it's very interesting, because in the workday, burnout has become what people consider a mental health crisis, and it's not. Burnout is caused and cured by your workday and your workplace.
It's the obstacle course.
Yeah, it's the freaking obstacle.
Where you're running. It's the environment where you're running the obstacle. It's the terrain.
Exactly. Exactly. So in this case, you might not take any breaks. You might look at your calendar and your obstacle course and like, oh, good, I know it. And then it's 5 o'clock and you didn't do anything. If you do that for several days and don't change your pattern, that daily exhaustion will lead to burnout. Burnout is you just have no more energy left to give. You just have no more energy. And so that midday break, or that 10 o'clock break that employers are supposed to give you, is really to prevent burnout and exhaustion by 5 o'clock. Like, that's your active recovery. So warning signs are different. I call, in poker, when people have their tells, and you can tell, like, well, I tell everyone to notice their own tells on the road to burnout. Mine is I start to get really parched, and I don't get water after that, and I end up really, really thirsty. I'm going to burn out, because that means I didn't get up from my desk and I just kept plowing through. Like, that little sign tells me I'm on my road to exhaustion that day and burnout if I keep doing it that way. If you tell yourself, oh, I need a break, and don't take one and go on to the next email, that's a early burnout sign. You're not paying attention to the signals your body needs. Your brain needs a freaking break. So burnout, I first would practice, like, am I going to leave? The goal of the book is to leave more restored at 5 o'clock than you started at 8:30, believe it or not. And so if you're exhausted at 5 o'clock, I would start to manage that as a key to burnout, because burnout is just several days of exhaustion all at once, and you just can't take anymore. By that point, you're done. You've eliminated any extra energy. Does that
Mm.
resonate? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like your gas tank is empty and or your battery is empty and you could have been charging up throughout the day.
For sure.
And now you're fried and now it's going to take 24 hours to restore or 48 hours or 2 weeks or
Or
5
quitting your
months.
job.
Yeah, right. Or it's beyond repair, right? You
Yeah,
gotta,
so I would start to nuance, am I exhausted? Because exhausted really is a healthier way to manage stress than burnout. You don't want to like
so how's
burnout.
my energy? Where's my
Yeah,
energy level?
and
Yeah.
energy management. So it's not only am I consciously thinking brain on, but in the book I dedicate a whole chapter to energy management.
Yeah.
Right? And that's fueling up active recovery. Just like you don't want your phone to go down by 1 bar, you really don't
Right.
want your brain power to go down by 1 bar. And by
Right.
plugging in often, adding space to your obstacle course, showing up with water and
Mhm.
stretching, and like this is all a practice that is
Yeah.
every day.
And just like your phone works better, faster, more efficiently, so do you. And so getting to that point of exhaustion and you're 1%, like things are taking forever to load. It's not really working. It's crashing. You have to restart. It's taking more time to do the same
Yeah.
amount. I think that's a really great way to talk to like management and leadership about why this is important for employees, because efficiency is better. The return on investment is actually higher when you can sustain productivity over a period of time without exhaustion and quitting and all
Right.
that uh,
Right.
the consequences of being exhausted. I'm
And
also
oh,
thinking,
go ahead.
oh,
Go
go,
ahead.
you go.
Well, I guess the other thing is I think we need to look at it on a daily basis, not as this, how was your year? Did you meet your
Oh,
goals? How,
yeah.
like at this high level fluffy, like we need to be measuring micro moments now so that we can start addressing them quicker and sooner, to your point.
Yeah, tell me more about that. Is that a daily check-in with a manager for the manager to help monitor somebody's energy level
I
or
think
calendar load?
so I mean, you bring up a really good point. I think it's on us and our self-awareness to manage our daily micro moments and asking ourselves the mental fitness. But in a chapter, I do have a leadership a circuit, which is like extra. First, the leader needs to know their own brain, when
Mm.
they need to recover, when they need to change things, when they need to focus in their tells. But then they need to realize they are coaching another person's brain. Like they're
Mhm.
coaching another person's brain, and the organization is the collective brain. So
Mhm.
they need to make sure they're not scheduling meetings back to back or trying to come up with an agenda in advance so our brain can focus and prepare and not get scared the minute we get on with our boss. Like surprise text or text after hours. There's habits and things that, so it's not checking in, but it's actually being a leader from a brain on perspective and doing things that support other people's brains and keeping them brain on, and
Yeah,
not
I love
turning them
that.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, having no say over anything, make all meetings 50 minutes and not 60. So everybody has 5 minutes
Right.
to get from point A to point B, or
Right.
take a breath, or check their email, or whatever they need to do. That could just be company policy for everyone, it seems. The other thing is, yeah, culture and leadership, that I'll schedule this email to send at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, but not at 9 p.m. tonight. It can
Right.
wait, right? I can draft it, I can schedule it, I can
Right.
plan it, and I can just wait, because that's the kind of culture I want to create, is that brain on, also like brain off of work sometimes, right? Like,
Right. No, right. Right.
so
Right. I know it's a little confusing. Somebody asked me, like, I want my brain to be off. And I'm like, your brain is off all the time, but yes.
right, right. No, it's like the highly enlightened when it
Yeah.
gets to be on. The other thing I'm thinking is so interesting is like, we used to have smoke breaks. You used to get a cigarette break. And that makes so much sense, because you need 10 minutes between this or that. And if you were the smoker, you got the break. And if you weren't the smoker, you didn't get the break. You just have to stay on the phones or whatever it was. And
Right.
so the idea of that is right. Now, what you're consuming, the substance was very unhealthy, but the idea of take a break is good. And it's often the same with alcohol. Like, have a break at the end of the day, have a glass of wine at the end of the day. And for many, I work with highly professional, successful women, and they do need the break. They do need the sit down. They do need the permission to step away, right? And turn their brain on. But alcohol is just the wrong substance to do it. And that was the excuse. You can do it without alcohol. There's plenty of ways to do it. You can take a walk around the block. You can do some deep breathing, right? You can do your favorite song. But the idea of like, we do need those breaks. We need the smoke break. We need the drink at the end of the day. It's just not actually a cigarette or alcohol. It's time.
Yeah.
It's time and awareness.
Exactly. I mean, that's why I use the word, and I talk about this in my keynotes, is like, we're corporate athletes. And you tell me one professional athlete that goes on the golf course and doesn't drink water or takes a break and talks to their caddy or goes off the field or sits down. You tell me. And
time out. We get timeouts, right?
Well, yeah. And tennis, they're sitting down between sets. You tell me, you show me one professional that goes the whole way with just thinking, which is what we're all doing for 480 minutes. If we work 8 hours, we're just thinking and not giving ourselves a break, but we use our mind as our, to do work. Yeah. We're a corporate athlete. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the muscle you're flexing all day long. And even when there's a rest period between lifting weights, right? You do it and then you rest and then you lift again.
Active recovery.
It's everything for everything. I always say too, with anything, it's almost like labor, like a contraction, like you push and then you rest and then you push and then you rest. And that's how you sustain great work over a long period of time.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about myself though, and somebody who can go balls to the wall, 1000% or nothing at all is very much my MO.
Yeah, me too.
And I get almost the zoomies. I get an adrenaline high from working and overworking and overfunctioning and being in a zone. I can get almost high off of that, to be honest, right? Like I feel like
addicted to that feeling.
I'm addicted to stress. I'm also addicted to all that. Yeah. So talk to me about unwinding for somebody like me, how to unwind some of that where it almost feels good. It's almost giving me a hit or a rush to be doing that.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I was like that too. I still am like that. And I don't have, so it's again, back to those micro monitoring. We need to know at the point where our tells are telling us, hey, too much. So when you start to feel that high and you're like, oh, I'm going to keep going. That's when you say, no, I'm actually going to stop. And it's going to feel like, what? You need to rewire your brain. So I used to be, I don't even know, the longest time, worry equaled action. I was a good mom the more I worried. We have these stories. We've trained ourselves wrong. So I had to say, worry for no reason, it was exhausting me, making me sick, does not equal I'm a good mom. It does not equal action. So now I'm a good mom when I don't worry. I think about things before I pause, before I get a good night's sleep, before I stop myself, because I know it's bad for me to keep going and going and going and going. Yeah. That's an addiction. So it's a retraining through a pause or a different way or self-awareness. Like even right now, I'm having a great time, but I notice I'm giving all my energy. So I'm down 2 bars through this and I'm having a good time, but I'm going to take a drink right now to just say, you can still have a good time and you don't need to be go, go, go while you're talking to Heather. So let me pause and take a drink.
What a beautiful real-time example. I relate so much. When my firstborn daughter was going to have surgery, she was getting tubes in her ears and her adenoids out. I worried sick the night before the surgery. I didn't sleep. After surgery, I thought she'll be groggy. She'll be tired. She was 3 years old. She'll come home and sleep the rest of the day. Well, she didn't. She came home and had all the energy in the world. And I had nothing to give her because I spent my time not sleeping to worry about her surgery versus fueling myself so that I could really be with her in recovery. Right?
Yeah.
Like I just wanted her to go to sleep because I was so tired not being there for her in the night, just worried about it.
Right.
when it came time that she needed me, I was too exhausted to really give my best. So yeah, worry like the rocking chair,
Yeah, I think too much of a good thing is always a problem, but avoiding the good thing is not the answer too. So back to your point, I mean, I've always kind of shamed myself because I love working. I love creating new businesses. I love coaching. I love all of that. So I even work on the weekend, but I had to train myself to know like, oh, I'm being grumpy with my kid, or, oh, I missed a conversation. That's when it becomes too much. So I honor that I love to work, and I'm happy and I'm my best self when I do until I'm not. And catching that a point and stopping is the practice.
Yeah, I love it. And you mentioned some of your values of creativity and inspiration in the beginning. I just finished a book called The World Needs Your Art about creativity, and it gave me a very low bar writing goal. I also love to write, and I have these big writing sessions and then nothing at all, these big swings, right? And I gave myself the lowest bar writing goal that I could. And then when I accomplish that each day, stop is the thing. And it's like, it is so hard to stop when you're on a roll, right? You love to get in that. But the stopping of it means it's leaving stuff left over for tomorrow. And I already know where I'm getting started. And through this consistency of doing a little bit each day and stopping before I'm ready has had me writing more and better than I ever have in my past. And I think that's just an exact example of what you're talking about. We don't have to keep going. We don't have to go overboard, and maybe stop before you're ready, right? Like start when the warning light is going off. It doesn't have to get to a red when it starts to be yellow, or even before it starts to break.
Active recovery. Yes. I don't know if you know Dan Goleman, like the grandfather of emotional intelligence, right? I was able to hear him speak once, and he used the Viktor Frankl famous quote about a purposeful pause. Between a stimulus, like the phone rings or the nurse calls or another email, and your response, between the stimulus and the response is that pause and is a choice. But what Daniel Goleman said is the longer you lengthen that pause is the definition of maturity. You don't just jump in. Like, can you hold it 3 seconds today before checking your phone? Can you hold it 5? Can you hold it a minute? That takes a lot of mental fitness. But then you're coming back more poised, more restored, more refreshed. I thought that was brilliant. I really did.
Oh, I think it's everything. It definitely comes up with a craving to lengthen the pause and our impulsivity to just react. I think we all have that. I have that a lot. So yeah, the maturity to decide how to react instead of doing what comes natural, and thinking kind of all of that through, and having that emotional intelligence is so valuable. So I get it. You get it. Tell me how you've gotten corporations to get it. Leaders in the work environment. Like, it makes sense personally and individually, and for therapists and social workers and people one-on-one who are dealing with it. But how do you get a company or a leader of a company to want to invest in something like this, or see the value in training something like this? Does it feel a little fluffy, or there's not an ROI? This isn't going to show up on a revenue sheet or something like that? As I'm just playing devil's advocate, guessing what you might run up against. Like, what's the real point? How does this grow my business?
All of the above. And honestly, I don't have the answer yet. That's why I wrote the book, is to start the conversations. We're barely at the place where employers are investing dollars into mental health, clinical support, which is so needed. So I want them to start there. We haven't necessarily cracked the nut on understanding that our brain is the business. And if we don't upgrade everyone's brains through mental fitness, the businesses won't survive. So they haven't made the tie. So we're just starting this journey, which is why I so appreciate being able to talk about it. I found the best thing is if a leader understands it, that leader and supporting that leader will then, through grassroots or through the natural evolution of them managing others, kind of get that on board, get that mental fitness mindset throughout the organization at a grassroots level. So LinkedIn, for example, is one that has mindfulness sessions all the time running for all their employees. And it started with the CEO and one special person named Scott Shute to want to launch and be a mindfulness executive. And he held sessions, and slowly 10 people became 30 people. 30 people became 50 people. Those 50 people went out, and people would say, wow, you seem calm today. And they would say, this is why I've been practicing. Word of mouth spread, and it became organic. It's not something you can just say you need. You have to experience it and see the benefit in your life, or it takes a health crisis, like a heart attack, like Bertoli, or the CEO of Aetna, when he had his accident and learned mindfulness for pain relief, had all 50,000 Aetna employees do mindfulness training. So it takes that experience. So I'm up against all of that every day, but I will spend hours talking to that one employee or that one leader that wants to figure it out. And we will slowly get it embedded in that organization. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, it's so, some of it is prevention. It sounds like, and sometimes it takes a crisis to shine a light on it, unfortunately, when all of that could be prevented, right? It's a preventative thing. The other thing that I'm hearing is, well, from an HR perspective, in my mind, having been a director of recruitment in my past, is like, it is so less expensive to keep an employee than to recruit an employee, right? So if you can keep your people and you have a culture that people like, and a culture of wellness and well-being that supports individuals and a healthy workplace, then you're not just the burn and churn, which is so expensive to always be hiring and firing is an incredibly costly endeavor. So I imagine there is an ROI, even if it hasn't been, measured exactly.
1,000%. Your company is only as healthy as your least healthy brain, because emotions are contagious. When a baby cries, and if you go, oh my gosh, they like get worse. Or if you go, they like a boss.
Co-regulation of our nervous systems, right?
Like we have mirror neurons. Negative emotions run through your organization. So if you don't understand that the success of your organization is solely determinant on the success and the health of your brains at work, which are your people, but the brains of your people, you will eventually go out of business. You will eventually lose customers. It might not be tied back to that mental fitness and the strength and the resiliency, but it was caused by those conversations being brain off, or that toxic culture being brain off, or those leaders not understanding they're turning brains off.
For sure. That makes so much sense. Thank you. So before we get to how to buy your book and all that good stuff, what is something that I can do and the listeners can do to support your cause, besides to continue the conversation, to bring awareness, to be an advocate for Brain On, both individually, personally, and at a larger scale? How can we sing your song and your praises across the masses?
That's so kind of you to ask. Honestly, like I said, if you're in an organization and you practice mindfulness and want to know how to move mindfulness through your organization, or want to learn about mindfulness and Brain On and mental fitness, just, connect with me. Those are the conversations that truly change the trajectory of your entire workplace and workforce for the better. So I will talk to champions every day. It's what I enjoy doing.
I love it. Okay, we'll have your contact information. And
perfect.
Yeah, a lot of corporate leaders listening, a lot of boss babes, of course, so they can connect directly with you. Have a call, have a conversation, see what can be done in their workplaces. And also tell us about your book. Tell us anything that I have missed asking about your book, and also where to purchase and how to make it a corporate book club. I think that would be a really good idea for folks to start the conversation in their workplaces as well.
I love that. So interestingly enough, I don't read a lot of books. I get very tired. So I think the biggest thing, or the most impressive thing in my mind that I wanted to accomplish, is that this was a brain-friendly book. So it is geared towards reading 10 pages a day and no more. Like it uses the Pomodoro effect. I specifically asked for 4 colors so our brain can get engaged and not just kind of read the black and white. I used a special font so it's brain friendly. So I don't want this book to be on anybody's to-do list. I think it's a playbook for living your best and healthiest life at work and a resource that you pull out all the time. So to me, it's a 10-page fun read every day, and becoming mentally stronger is the goal so that you can have a better work day, which ultimately is why I do what I do. I want everyone to end their day better than it started. And what I say in my subtitle is win their work day, because right now work is kicking our butts and our brains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I started my own business, because I couldn't do that anymore. Right?
Right.
It was leading me to drink. Right. And now it's the autonomy of schedule. That's everything for me. And now I do big, beautiful work, important
Yes.
work, needle moving work, the same, as in the corporate world, but it looks different because my time is different and the way I schedule my time is different. I love your passion about this. I love that I asked that question about what I didn't ask, because I just loved that what you said about how intentional you were in writing this book, and the fonts and the colors and how many pages per day. And as somebody who doesn't want to sit and read for hours and hours yourself, that you are conscious of making a brain friendly book for the rest. You're the perfect guest to talk about this. Thank you so much for your time, Deb, and for all the beautiful work that you do in the workplace. We need more people like you. I'll support you, cheer you on, advocate for what you're doing. Hopefully we can present somewhere together sometime, right?
I would love that,
And
because
keep singing our song.
yes, I would say the same about you. It's been a true pleasure. I think what I draw inspiration from is talking with you and all your insightful questions, coming from a place of knowledge and expertise and understanding the human experience. Your work is like a shining light that I adore and really just are inspired by too. So this was a true pleasure and honor for me as well.
Thank you so much, Deb.
Take care.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Peripatia Podcast, a talk show for women. Don't forget to download my free ebook, The 12 Truths to Change Your Life. Do it for the plot. We'll see you in the next episode. Lots of love.